my sweeties, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Elise, and thank you for joining my spooky little family. In today's video, we will be talking about... Why the fuck are you laughing?
Oh, no reason. Continue, keep going. What are we doing today?
Are you laughing?
Sorry. No, nobody's laughing.
Nothing. Nobody's laughing. Nobody's laughing.
In today's video, we will be comparing The Evil Dead 1981 and Evil Dead 2013. Let's get into the video.
So I watched Eyes Without a Face, and I actually don't know what we were all mad about. It was a great movie. It actually was not offensive to head-adjacent peoples whatsoever.
Nice.
It was good. I thank you for the recommendation. I would have, this whole time, I've been ignorant to the fact that it was a good
glad
movie.
that you liked it.
Yeah, I liked, what was her name? Alita Volley. She great.
Are we not supposed to mention that? Supposed to be talked about?
He doesn't really like it.
Okay.
You have to say headless adjacent.
No, it was nothing. I was saying.
I'm a grown man. I'm 300 years old.
No, I was saying I really like your tie. I wanted to know if it was okay for me to compliment you on the video. But
Thank you.
Right. Right.
I got it in the 1870s. Great year. Besides the Civil War thing, that part sucked. Other than that, great year. I was studying abroad at that time. I was also studying in another country.
Wow,
This
Cornelius.
guy.
What country?
I love Cornelius. I need my own Cornelius.
We have a guest, so we want to introduce him first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Garrett, thanks for stopping by today. What are you here for?
I'm here to compare the original Evil Dead with the Evil Dead 2013 remake with my very good friend, Sweet and Spooky.
Yes, actually, Evil Dead is Garrett's favorite horror film of all time.
It is, hence the shirt that I'm wearing. I actually didn't have an original Evil Dead shirt. I only had the Army of Darkness shirt, but we're not going to talk about Army of Darkness here today. We're only talking about 1 and 2013.
Okay, so now that we have the expert on Evil Dead here, let's talk about what Evil Dead is about. For those who don't know, for some bizarre reason, if you're watching this horror channel and you don't know about Evil Dead.
You clicked on a video called Evil Dead and you don't know what it's about. That's on you.
That's on you!
But we're still going to tell you anyway.
We're going to tell you anyway. So Evil Dead is about a group of college students who end up going to a mysterious looking cabin and they find a very strange book and very demonic things happen. Garrett, can you tell us why Evil Dead is your favorite horror film of all time?
Well, there's a lot to go into that. Most of it is trauma. I'll tell you a very interesting story. When I was a little babushka, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother's house, and my father had a lot of his stuff over at my grandmother's house. Now, she was living in this home, and the upstairs wasn't really developed, but we kept a lot of our stuff up there. But we also have a lot of my dad's stuff up there. And so my dad had a lunchbox that was very prominent as soon as you walked up the stairs. And the lunchbox was an Evil Dead lunchbox. It had, like, the original poster art of, like, the woman getting dragged underneath the grave and whatnot.
It's amazing.
And it, like, scared the absolute shit out of me. Like, I could not go upstairs without a chaperone. It was, like, but also, like, weirdly sexually awakening for me. It was, like, a very weird, because it was, like, right at that, like, 9, 10-year-old phase where, like, it's starting, but it's not quite there yet, so you're not sure what these feelings are, but you're like, something about that is really making me interested, but I also don't want to go near it.
That happened to me, I remember it like it was yesterday, but it was during the Salem witch trials.
But anyway, going back to my reasoning for why I like Evil Dead. So, I was telling my dad about this thing, and of course, like, he was like, oh, you want to watch the movie? So I was like, oh, there's a movie. Of course I want to watch the movie because I'm weirdly aroused. I was, again, 9 at the time and shouldn't have been watching the original Evil Dead, so I was terrified. The pencil stabbing scene, which we'll get into later, was a particular note for me, and I had a lot of nightmares about that as a kid. And I started developing this fear because we lived right down the street from a graveyard. And I was very afraid of zombies after watching Evil Dead. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, hey, I'm really, like, worried about zombies. And my dad was like, oh, well, that's why they have the spikes on the top of cemetery fences, because when the zombies crawl out, they get stabbed. This is an actual thing that he told me. He was like, well, the zombies just get stabbed by the fence when they climb over it. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, then I wasn't worried about it anymore.
That's actually kind of wholesome, honestly.
Yeah, right? But anyway, like that movie, like sitting there traumatized with it, I just kind of like rewatched it over the years and developed and it really like it stuck with me. There's a lot too, and I can get into later about how like Evil Dead meant to me in my filmmaking career, about how like it really like the story around its production really inspired me to go through film school and do what I currently do today.
Nice.
And then, 2013 came out and I saw it. It was fun.
We're going to talk about that.
I actually have a funny story about the 2013 one as well.
I love that. It started with a lunchbox, and now we're here, and it's
now we're here, and I still have that
Garrett's
lunchbox.
favorite.
I own that lunchbox.
You
now.
have it?
I still have it. Yeah, I should have brought
use
it. No, I don't. It's like a decoration piece in my home. I put it in my
brought
house. I
it.
should have brought it, but no.
That's amazing.
I didn't think about it when I left for work
good
today.
Condition?
No. It's been with me through like every move that I've ever done, so it's not like very well made.
What are you keeping it?
For a time, I kept Pokemon cards in it.
That's amazing. Look.
There was a good amount of
Here
time.
are my Pokemon cards.
Oh shit, we got there's some more Pokemon cards right
As you
here.
can tell, look, this is my pink deck box. We're going all over the place. Do you want to play Pokemon with me sometime?
Do you play Pokemon? do
I'm trying to get into it.
Do people play the card game?
She's been trying to teach me, but I can't see
I
the
used
cards.
to play it
You
when I
can't
was a
see the
kid.
cards. So can you see or can you not see?
Cornelius can watch movies but can't see anything else. It's crazy.
That is extremely insensitive. I watch it with the closed captions on. Granted, I don't have ears either, so I can't hear it, but I just kind of get the vibe, you know?
But anyway, I do want to bring it back, and I want to ask you about like your first experience. I don't know anything about like how you got into Evil Dead.
Okay, so I actually got into Evil Dead very late in my life.
Okay.
The first time I watched the original was in like 9th grade.
It's not really late in life. You're still like,
That's pretty late.
you're like 14, 15. It's not that far along, you know? It's still enough to be traumatizing.
Yeah, I mean, I was in it. In the original story. I was there.
You were in the original story?
Yeah.
What'd you do with the original?
He's in the Necronomicon.
You're in the Necronomicon? No fucking
Yes,
kidding.
but it's bullshit because my cousin, he's the one who has his name in the book.
Ah,
But it's really me. I wrote that.
That's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
This is really a headed society that we live in.
Tinder as a head adjacent person is terrible.
I can only imagine.
Because I should be 5'7".
So what are you like 4? like 4'9"?
And I try to tell this to every girl I match with. I'm just like, you're just a head taller than me. It's not that big of a deal.
Okay,
Right?
so I first watched The Evil Dead in 9th grade.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings here, but I'm sure a lot of the angry men in my comments will be like, oh my god. I didn't really think too much of it. I'm sorry. I was very grossed out by the tree scene. I was kind of contemplating whether or not I thought Bruce Campbell was cute. So, but I was in 9th grade. Like, what do you know, right? But it was one of those films that did not stick with me the way that other horror films stuck with me. But now I feel differently. Like, now I love Evil Dead. So it's definitely changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my experience. It's nowhere near as cool as yours.
No, I mean, it's not even like, there's no like comparison. Like, it's not about like who's cooler and what. The point is that we found it and that we're here.
Yes.
That's really what it's about. I don't give a shit about how you found whatever. Like, I had this stupid story about Evil Dead, but then I watched Nightmare on Elm Street like 6 years ago and was like, okay, cool.
Did you like it?
Of course I liked it, but the similar thing. I was like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's good.
So let's talk about the original film. What did you like about it?
I mean, the original film had like so much to do. There was like so many influences that Sam Raimi had from like Jason and the Argonauts with like the stop motion that was like thrown into there. There was like this culmination of his life and his experiences and his interest that his creativity just really fucking when it was on full display in the first one. Unfortunately, for most of us, the budget wasn't quite where it needed to be. But then again, whose first film has the budget where it needs to be?
Very true.
But with what they did with that original budget and that original like concept that they had, spawned a multi-million-dollar franchise. with 6 sequels and a TV show. Of course, like the movie, with it being a little bit more low budget, caused it to seem a little bit goofier than I think he originally had intended it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love most about Sam Raimi and his features, and again, I promise you I will not harp on the sequels, is that he like leaned into that. He saw like what people really took out of that movie and just went with that.
Right.
So I think this movie is really about kind of that blend of doing what you want to do, but also what people like about you.
One of my favorite things about Evil Dead is that a lot of people seem to look at it as if it's like this schlocky like horror film, which it is, but it's actually shot very well. And speaking of that, one of my favorite scenes is the scene where Ash ends up giving his girlfriend the necklace.
Yeah, in the original with the...
Yeah, and the way it's shot, like the shots of their eyes and it being like super cutesy, kind of like meet cute. Love that. I think also another thing I really liked about this film is that it is still creepy, even now. Speaking of the tree scene, that is still traumatizing for me to watch even now. And I almost feel like if we're going to compare, I think that it is a lot more creepy in the original than it is in the 2013 film.
Really?
In the original, we kind of get a shot of her legs kind of moving. Whereas in the 2013 one, we kind of just get a shot down and we see the thing going towards it.
Yeah, I mean, and like there's definitely more of like a...
I feel like Sam Raimi's version is a lot more intimate than the 2013 one. So it's a lot more in your face.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more uncomfortable.
There's a titty in that scene too.
That
Which is-
too.
yeah.
That kills me.
Yeah.
Because like my boobs hurt looking at that. Okay.
But anyway.
So let's talk about 2013. So 2013 has an amazing cast. All people that I'm a really big fan of. Jane Levy, who's Slade. I actually saw her in Shameless before this film came out. And then, of course, we had indie film darling Lou Taylor Pucci here in this, and I have a major soft spot for Lou Taylor Pucci.
Beefcake.
He's a beefcake. What are you gonna say? So I tend to gravitate more towards rewatching the 2013 version as opposed to the 1981 version, and now I rewatch it all the time. I can quote it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, so we're kind of like on opposite end of the spectrums here. Like I'm a full-on original, and you're like
I think
you're like
so.
full-on the remake. Okay, but that's good. That's
that
why we
works
do this.
out.
Yeah. So what would you say like is your favorite thing about the remake, like as opposed to the original?
My favorite thing. I feel like the remake kind of has this thing for me that I can connect more to the characters than the original. I'm not sure if that's like the story. But I feel like we have a lot more intimate connections with our characters as opposed to the 1981 version.
Yeah, there is kind of a bit. I know they've tried to inject that that like the story of her being a drug addict and this whole thing being like her intervention. And then that even kind of playing into the whole, like when she starts turning into a deadite, like nobody really believes her because they're like, oh, she's going through withdrawals. I mean, honestly, I was kind of bummed out they spoiled in the trailer, but the slicing the tongue in two with the razor blade was like an iconic scene.
So good.
I feel like that's one of the most like, it would go, you know, Ash with the chainsaw hands, Book of the Dead, and then third in line for most recognizable thing in the Evil Dead franchise would be her slicing her fucking tongue open.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The most distinctive one in the movie, though, is the scene where the Norwegian girlfriend, Norwegian, I don't know what she was. There was the.
Why are you calling her Norwegian?
Was she Norwegian?
I don't know.
There was the girlfriend who was foreign. She didn't speak a lot of English. She spoke like broken English, and that was like part of the whole thing. Everyone was like, "Why the fuck did he bring his fucking girlfriend here? Like, this is a serious thing."
I think she was European.
European, some kind of European. Okay,
Yeah.
not necessarily Scandinavian. I'm sorry, Scandinavia. She was, I think it was like, they did the whole, like, she was bitten in the hand, and the thing was come up, and she was like the one who sliced off her arm with the fucking electric meat saw.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, just that scene of her, like, standing in the kitchen where she was like, I did it. I felt so much better after I did it. And there's this set, and this scene speaks volumes to the sound, the importance of sound in films, because there is this sound that, like, haunts me to this day from that scene where it goes...
I had to do it. I feel much better now.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah, but it does its job like so well. Like you really get this. She's like fucking completely dazed.
I will say one scene that sticks with me from the 2013 film is the bathroom scene. Oh my god, I'm forgetting the
With the
character's
face?
name. Yeah, when
Yeah.
she's cutting her face and Lou Taylor Pucci's character finds her. Disgusting.
And she turns around with like the big gash.
Yeah, it's just the sound for me. It's disgusting. I think that Jane Levy had a very strong performance. While I don't want to talk about the woman who plays Ash's girlfriend in the original, you know, if I had to choose between performances, I'm going to go with Jane Levy. I think it's one of her best performances.
Well, that's something too, is that like we have to understand that, you know, Evil Dead the original was like they're fucking friends.
For
You know what I mean?
sure. it
That would be like if
was.
we pulled in
Well,
our
that's the
coworkers and we're like,
beauty
hey,
of
you
it.
want to be like, you know, you want to be an actor in my movie? And they're like, yeah, whatever.
That's the beauty of it. You get a bunch of your friends together and you do some gritty, crazy horror movie and you all have fun while doing it.
So, of course, Jane Levy's performance was like, obviously much better. She's like an actual actress. Like a legitimate.
Well, that's true.
She does this as a career.
That's true.
Not to downplay her performance. It's amazing. But yeah, like it's like you're hiring an actual actress. And that is a very good segue into my other point that I've said for pretty much for the past 10 years. That 2013 does feel like the movie that Sam would have made in 81, given the budget that he had in 2013. Internet people do your thing, but I'm pretty sure the movie was made, the original was made for like $30,000. And the amount they pulled off with that is truly stunning, but like imagine if they had like 100.
Let's
Like,
talk
only counting money.
about the amount of blood they use. Because obviously you come here, we're talking about Evil Dead. We're talking about practical effects and lots of blood. As all these movies use gallons and gallons of blood. Do you remember how much blood was used in the original?
Not as much as 2013.
2013 actually used a lot of blood, and that was another reason I really loved the 2013 version. The entire, like, blood rain sequence, I loved it. I love an idea of, like, blood raining down on someone. It's amazing.
That is still the most amount of blood ever used in a movie.
Is it really? To this day?
Fede Alvarez said it was 50,000, but some people say it's between 50 and 70,000.
And to this day is like the most amount of blood ever used. Wow.
Dead Alive only used 300 gallons. And
I
that
was
the
gonna
most
say,
on
before
Jesus.
that, it was Dead Alive, which was known to be, like, the bloodiest.
Well, yeah, he had the whole like lawnmower scene in that, so that's
I love that movie.
gore pour. It's amazing. It's
That
fantastic.
movie is like what Evil Dead would have been if...
If it was made in New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. And
So the opening is not my favorite. I think we could have done without that, actually. I do think that the fire looks really bad.
Oh yeah.
And I just think it's kind of a very, like, corny, very 2013 opening of
It doesn't
horror
serve
film.
any of the rest of the movie too, right? Like
It
there's the
does
whole
not.
thing in the basement where they find the book, but it doesn't like, you know, the events of that scene don't play into anything else in the movie. Like there's just weird shit in the basement now. Like you could just had that. And that's another thing too about the original versus the remake is that there was like weird shit in the basement, but it was just there.
It was just weird shit to be weird.
And that's the kind of the thing is that like, you know, in less is more.
Right.
If they did the whole opening, then it's like, oh, okay, they fucking burned this woman, whatever, who gives a shit.
Right.
And the original, it's like, oh, how did this get here? What is it? And now you, as the viewer, are more engaged because now you're thinking about, oh shit, how did this get here?
Yeah,
Then you get
they kind of do spoon feed it to you like a bunch of times in 2013. Like,
Yeah.
we start it with that, and then later he goes down in the basement. He goes towards like the tree, and he's like, "Oh, something was burnt here." It's like, yeah,
Right, yeah,
And they
the
show us like a
opening.
flashback. It's like, we know,
We were
saw
there.
it.
Rob Zombie and his effect on society, he'll pay.
I think that's a very of the time thing to do. I think that's very 2013 thing to do in a horror movie like this.
But that's another thing too, is that like the original Evil Dead like wasn't doing things of the time. Like it set the trend.
is
Like
true.
it really
It's a bit
broke away
timeless.
from like it broke away from what they were doing and ended up becoming timeless in the process.
Right.
And
That's
again,
very true.
big asterisk, 2013 is a fine movie. But yes, 2013 is kind of stuck in the development of its time. That was a bit of a bummer, but not like a deal breaker.
So, okay, I gotta ask you guys. Final thoughts. Which one are your favorites?
I mean, Cornelius, I talked to you before the camera started rolling. I mean, it's, for me, genuinely Evil Dead 1981. And it really does come from that like personal experience that I had with it. It being really my introduction into the horror genre in and of itself. Like, I wouldn't be in the career that I'm in without Evil Dead. You know, it just really kicked off that whole thing for me. And it's not for me to say I dislike 2013, but it's always going to hold that place in my heart.
I think for me personally, it's kind of tough because as I've grown older, I have had more of a soft spot for the original Evil Dead, but I do think that the 2013 version really holds true for me. I don't know. I can quote it. I love to watch it. The performances are top tier for me. I haven't forgotten them. Love them. I love it. I think it's the 2013 for me.
And I will say that, you know, us sitting here in this room and, you know, having the civil conversation about the two of them, even though we have differing opinions, is kind of what's nice about horror in general.
For sure.
It's still, for the most part, a subculture. And I think that a lot of us really need to just understand that, like, no matter what, we're all kind of under the same umbrella.
Yeah. I also think it's, like, important how it shaped you, how it affected you at that time is kind of gonna carry with you or it's not. And I feel like, for me, the 2013 version kind of stayed with me throughout my life, and it's still there. And Garrett, lunchbox and all, it's still there. Right?
Still there. Lunchbox, thermos, everything.
There's
a thermos too. Of course, it's a thermos.
All right. I don't know how to end the video. Cornelius, thoughts?
Don't look at me. I never seen any movie.
How does he rate anything? Eyes without a face.
I'm
We
still a little
boycotted
burnt
that
about
movie,
that,
but I've never seen it.
No, I saw it. I didn't see it. You know, on the account of not.
All right, you know what? I thought you were gonna help us, but you're making it worse. All right, you guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I would like to thank my guest, Garrett, here.
Thank Sweet and Spooky for having me on.
Of course. I'm so happy we could talk to an expert on Evil Dead like Garrett.
That's why I have the shirt.
Yes, and lots of fun facts to share with us. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts, which film you prefer. I'd love to talk about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.